you're never alone. Like those previous site cues, they have your back at all times. So if you need anything, you have questions, you can't make one of the workouts, hand over the flag. We'll take it for that week and we'll get it right back to you. It's like we got your back.
Hey F3 Omaha, welcome back to Q-Source TV, where we explore F3's manual of virtuous leadership, or Q-Source. I want to get started with this week's prayer just to provide a little bit of context. It comes from 1 Corinthians, and the Apostle Paul wrote a letter to the Corinthians. They had written them a lot of questions about how to practice Christianity and how to have a church of Christ. And so this letter to the Corinthians is answering some of the Corinthians' questions when it comes to that. And this is from chapter 9, verses 24 through 27. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last. But we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body and make it a slave so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. So really talking there about practicing what you preach, having some consistency when it comes to living the life of the Bible and living the life like Jesus, and comparing that to how we post for F3 and we do fitness several times a week, and we set goals for fitness and we do all these challenges in F3 Omaha throughout the year, but really having that same kind of consistency when it comes to living a biblical life.
Are you saved? I'm baptized.
Shit, that ain't what I asked you.
That ain't what he asked you. See?
Go to what I asked him.
Yeah, you gotta listen. Are you saved?
The TWP this week, the purpose, practice, or principle from Q-Source is King, the daily discipline of physically training the body. And we're still in that get right quadrant of the book. And a couple passages from King that I wanted to recite here. The hymn, again, that stands for High Impact Male, having turned pro, is focused on gradually but consistently accelerating his fitness level rather than merely staying in shape. Staying in shape is what amateurs try to do. And what I really like about F3 Omaha, we've talked in the past about all the opportunities with the 75 plus AOs every day of the week. Even here in Bennington, we're going to have every day of the week except for Sundays coming up soon. So a lot of opportunity to get in shape and to stay in shape, but also to accelerate your fitness. And we have a lot of challenges throughout the year, which I like to highlight here. Wrapping up this week, we have the IPC, or the Iron Packs Challenge, which of course is region-wide. But we also have the Band of Yeti Winter Warriors, where you try to work out 20 times in feels like 20 or below degree weather. So it's a challenge during the winter trying to get guys out here in the Omaha area. There's a pre-run challenge in the spring, which a lot of guys participate in. And then, of course, we just wrapped up not too long ago the Murph Challenge during the summer. And you see a lot of folks coming out for the Murph Challenge. That's a pretty popular one. And then, of course, we have a few CSOPs sprinkled out throughout the year, which are typically an hour and a half to 2.5 hour long workouts, which can be very challenging to your fitness. And definitely guys get into acceleration mode to prep for those kinds of events throughout the year. So a lot of opportunity to accelerate your fitness. One other passage I wanted to highlight from Q-Source about King is, the hymn stays in strict physical training to get a crown that will last forever. Kind of heard something similar at the top with our prayer. It's really cool how Q-Source and the Bible intertwine, and a lot of the same theories and a lot of same concepts and a lot of the same stories come out through Q-Source. One other thing that I kind of wanted to reference about King in particular, and why Q-Source is such a valuable tool and resource when it comes to F3 and just having a better life in general, is had you asked me before reading this chapter, really, and even as I was getting into F3 and starting to learn a little more about it, what first F or fitness was. If you asked me to define that, I probably would have used the amateur definition, and I would have stuck with that definition and felt like I was true to what fitness is, which is getting into shape, going 3 to 5 times a week, depending on your family commitments and your schedule and your availability and that sort of thing. I know some guys travel for work, but basically staying in shape using those 3 to 5 posts per week, and then you were good, and then you could focus on second F and third F. But at least from a first F standpoint, you were checking that box. And it wasn't until I read this chapter, and even having talked to some other guys and just kind of feeling it, where you learn that really it's that accelerating your fitness. It's always trying to get better, and it's not just good enough to stay in shape. Because if you're trying to accelerate your fitness, and that's top of mind, and you really understand that it's not just the status quo, then you can break other things in your life, other habits in your life, whether it's things with your family, things with your career, things with your marriage, what have you, where you're breaking the status quo there as well. And yeah, it's good to get to a plateau in your marriage. It's good to have steady, stable income. It's good to be not anxious and, like I said, just kind of have that stable mentality. But you need to crack through that once you get there, and you need to make your life better by accelerating. And the good book and this book right here helps quite a bit with that. As I was reading through King, the first thing that popped in my head was Chariots of Fire. Not necessarily the movie, but the song from the movie, the theme song from the movie. And as soon as you look it up and listen to it, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it'll hit you right away. But that got me thinking of the movie, and I went back and rewatched the movie. It's an okay rewatch. I'm not going to lie to the audience. It's a little bit slow, and if you've already seen it and you kind of get the gist of what it's about, I went and found out that they did do a lot of liberties when it came to the remake. You got to make it entertaining and theatrical, I guess, but it is based on true events, and then they took some entertainment liberties, if you will. But good movie nonetheless. And there's a part where the lead actor, or one of the main characters in the story, his name is Eric Liddell. He's a Scottish runner, and he ends up running for Scotland in the Olympics. He is at an Ireland versus Scotland race. I'm not sure if it was a qualifier or what it meant. I mean, I know he was racing for the national team. I just don't know the context of what this particular race was. But what was important was what happened after the race. And he's a very famous guy in Scotland, and the crowd gathers around him, and the rain's coming down, and he gives a speech, about committing yourself to the love of Christ. Check it out.
But I want you to do more than just watch a race. I want you to take part in it. I want to compare faith to running in a race. It's hard. It requires concentration of will, energy of soul. Jesus said, "Behold, the kingdom of God is within you. If with all your hearts ye truly seek me, ye shall ever surely find me." If you commit yourself to the love of Christ, then that is how you run a straight race.
A personal experience or example of King when it comes to my F3 journey here in Omaha has to do with running with faster PAX members. My 2 fastest times when running the mile are right around 7.5 minutes. I think 7:35, 7:38, somewhere around there. And it happened both times when there were just 3 of us running, and there was no one else to fall back with. So I had no choice but to keep up with the guys that were running with me, and they happened to be fast runners. The first time was, I'll just call them out, Speed Bump and Biscuits at Beacon Valley, which is a nice flat pre-run about 3.5 miles. And then the second time was actually last week. And looking down at my watch and seeing that, it just kind of makes you think, I really can do that. And now I have that mental toughness that I've achieved that, and I know I can achieve it again. But I do know that now maybe I can break 7:20, or maybe I can break 7:10. And sometime, maybe in the real distant future, maybe I'll break 7 minutes. But again, it's just having that top of mind mentality that F1, or first F, I should say, it isn't good enough just to stay in shape and maintain a status quo. You should always be striving and trying to get better. And for me, the way that I've done that so far, and the most natural way for me to do it, is to run with faster brothers.
Who in the hell is that?
All right, let's get to this week's Q. It's Cradle, former Wolf Den site Q. His name is Ryan Stubendek. He does compliance and underwriting work at PayPal, and he joined in October of 2020, so just a couple weeks away from a milestone anniversary, 5 years in F3. That's awesome. For his bio, he grew up in Weeping Water, Nebraska, home of the Indians, and he met his M at Buffalo Wild Wings, of all places. I forgot to ask him what style or what flavor of wings he ordered that day. His favorite hobby is kayaking, and he describes the leader as someone with vision, integrity, and self-awareness. A leader draws people to them because of these qualities, and they make sound decisions and truly want the best outcomes for their community. As for my personal history with Cradle, he's just a very reliable, great him. You can always count on him. I think he would literally give you all the money in his wallet and the shirt off his back if you needed it. Any kind of question or anything you want to talk to him while in the gloom, you can bounce off of him, and he always has a very thoughtful response. And he has follow-up questions. You might see him a couple weeks later, and he'll follow up and ask you how things are going with a specific thing maybe you talked about with him. He loves going to coffee. I don't even think he drinks coffee, but he always showed up at coffee to hang out with the packs and get to know them better. Like I said, just if you wanted to put an F3 him on a poster, especially in the area of fellowship, you would just slap Cradle's face up there and you would say, come join F3, we need you. I'm excited for you to see this interview. He really talks about fitness quite a bit. We get into King and talk about the Q Source chapter, and he also talks about being a site Q and what it takes to be a site Q, and really identifying those potential him out there, which is pretty much probably almost everybody in F3, if not everybody in F3 Omaha, that has the potential, even if they don't know it, to one day be a site Q, and how he's able to see that and help encourage those him out there so that they can take that next step in the leadership journey here at F3. Can't wait for you to see it. Check it out.
All right, I now have the pleasure of being joined by Cradle on Q Source TV. How's it going, buddy?
It's going great, Mel Carton. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good, thanks. Let's just jump right into it. You've been in F3 for nearly 5 years. You were site Q at the Wolf Den for a year. What keeps you coming back for more?
To be honest with you, I think it's that the second F is the biggest one. That the fitness really, that's kind of what got me there, was the fitness. I really enjoyed the challenging workouts from a number of different people, right? And then by doing that, you start staying for coffee. You start doing some of the pre-activities. You get to know these guys a lot better. And that's when you form those bonds and those relationships, I think that's what really helps you start to come back. And, being a site Q at the Wolf Den for a year, having the pleasure to, work with a lot of different people that come to the Wolf Den, and I asked them some same type of questions. And that's what they said too. It's once I started opening up a little bit more and doing a little bit more than just that 45-minute to an hour long workout, it after it really started to connect with me.
As you know, you mentioned fitness and fellowship, but it also stands for faith. Have you noticed that over the 5 years that some of the hierarchy of those, how you rank them, like I really need to get back into better shape, or I'm trying to accelerate, or I really need to focus more on fellowship, or maybe something happened with your faith that really you accelerated during a certain period of time? Do you see over the 5 years that sometimes some of them rank differently depending on what's going on in F3 for you?
When I first started F3, I was only in it for a month, and I had a pretty bad injury. Rolled my ankle, pretty much did everything except for break it, right? So I was out of F3 for about 5 months. So, getting back into it, it was really about that fitness, getting back, getting back into shape, so I can start doing those workouts and continue to go out on a regular basis, right? When I first came back, it was like one day a week, maybe 2 days a week, just to kind of strengthen it and get it back. So yeah, I definitely see that. And a lot of people see OTs as well, especially when they talk about their faith and things like that. That really opens it up is to me as well. To it's like, what, I really need to dig a little bit deeper into that. So I really enjoy hearing those COTs regarding that, because that's something I should really be working on as well.
Absolutely. Every now and then you hear one of those COTs, it just hits you right in the heart, and really makes you
Exactly.
think about your own faith. Absolutely. This week's P, which I call purpose, principle, or practice from Q Source, is King, and the chapter gets into physical fitness and how it's not just good enough to get in shape, as you mentioned. You had an injury, you had to get back into shape, or even stay in shape, but really you need to be accelerating your fitness. Give our audience some examples of how First Step has improved for you since joining in October of 2020.
Oh, that first step. Well, one, it was tough to even get through a workout, right? You struggled to get through it, well, probably when you started as well.
Hmm.
But then as you continue to challenge yourself, right, and grow, so kind of what I ended up doing was I started pretty slow. Like I said, going about once a week. Because I was sore after those. It took good 2 days just to kind of get that body back, so it's not quite as sore. But once I started going more, you had to kind of understand where you are on a fitness level, right? You want to push yourself, you want to get better, but again, you don't want to injure yourself, you don't want
Hmm.
to burn yourself out. So it was really setting up goals for myself.
The chapter talks about it identifies the 5 areas where you should be accelerating: speed, strength, and stamina. Those are all pretty obvious. You kind of mentioned some of those already. But the other two, physical and mental toughness, how have you seen that change for you or improve since joining F3?
I'll probably start with the mental piece. Growing up, it was challenging. I always like to overthink and a lot of overcomplicate things. You know how it is.
Hmm.
So it was defining that mental toughness. As you begin to do those workouts, you begin to challenge yourself. You kind of see a difference in yourself, right? Physically and both mentally. You're like, there's like, I'd have like carrying a coupons around for, 100 yards, for example, right? I didn't think I was going to be able to do that for, ever, right? And doing those workouts, it changes that mentality. Like, I could do that. I wasn't perfect at it, but I did it. I finished it. I'm better for it. And then it just changes that mental mentality that you have. Like, you know what? I should be challenging myself, not just in F3, but also in your personal life. Is there things you want to do? I can probably go do that. Is there something new you wanted to try, a new hobby? Go do those things. So that mental piece was really important. And it really hit me after about a year of F3, kind of reflecting on that first year, how far I've came, the friendships that I've had, the physical ups and downs that I had during that first year. But that mental piece was very, very important to me.
I can't agree more. And just in other aspects of your life, I like how you put that, because I used to think I can't run a 10K, I can't run a half marathon. Not that I've done either of those officially yet, but at the same time, if you go to Crucible, you pretty much get in a 10K if you do the pre-run. So it's like,
Yep,
of course I can do a 10K. I just did one last week. And then, like you said, when it comes to other parts of your life, you're thinking, can I do that? It's like, yeah, you can do it, because F3 has taught you that there's a lot of things you can do that you didn't think you could do before. So I totally agree with all that. Um,
exactly.
you defined a leader as someone with vision, integrity, and self awareness. How did you exhibit those qualities while site queuing Wolf Den?
Um, well, one I think is just earning everyone's trust, right? When they're coming here, I had Vespa and I set that bar where like we want people to come to the Wolf Den expecting they're going to get a great workout because they come here to work out, right? We want to
Hmm.
make sure we have that bar set pretty high. You're going to come out here, you're going to work hard, but also you're going to have a lot of fun as well. There's going to be a lot of chatter. And another thing, since, I'm not respect, but Vespa is respect. I also talked to Vespa, like we need to have a wide range of cues as well. I want people in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, 50s, 60s. I want that whole range so we are a welcoming site that anyone from any age group can come out and get a great workout in, different beat downs, different COTs, really make each Monday at 5:15 exciting. They really want to get out of bed on that Monday morning and get out there and work hard. I mean, heck, the last official cue there, we had Snare's son, OG Monkey, lead that one. So we even had kids in elementary lead that one. So it was fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, catering to all ages, giving everyone an opportunity to lead. That's great.
Exactly.
Staying in that leadership vein, what would you tell someone who you think is ready to be a site Q, but for whatever reason, they don't feel like they have what it takes?
I'm not sure about you. You look like you're a confident man, right? so, so like for me, I was like, I questioned it, like, can I do this for a whole year? What if in this year something pops up where I can't make it or something like that, right?
Mhm.
But I just, I kind of put that out of my head, right? We talked about that mentality piece, right? That mental strength. I'm like, no, I can do this. I've been to tons of workouts. I've been to Q Source. I've done all these things. These are the things that make a site Q. So whether I feel like I'm ready or not, I know I am. So as soon as I got rid of that negative voice in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm fully on board. I want to do this. I want to take on this challenge, and I want to do the best I possibly can with it. So that's what I would tell someone that was looking for it. It's like, if there's anything that's holding you back, let's talk about that. I may see something different than you when I work out with you. So maybe I can help you get over that hurdle and give you that strength and that confidence to take that next step in your journey. And last but not least, it's like what I told Dicka too, like when we handed over the flag, it's like, you're never alone. Like those previous site cues, they have your back at all times. So if you need anything, you have questions, you can't make one of the workouts, hand over the flag, we'll take it for that week and we'll get it right back to you. It's like, we got your back.
Unlocking new leaders. That's why I love the formula of F3. It works really well. What's been your favorite part of this F3 journey?
To be honest with you, there's probably two. One is just the guys that we get to talk to every single morning, like yourself. We kind of talked about it in Q Source just a couple days ago. You look around the table, you look around the guys that you're working out with. I probably would have never crossed paths with 99% of those guys if it wasn't for F3. And it reminds me of almost like high school too. You get to know these guys so well. A funny story, an interesting story, and probably something deep that they don't share with a lot of people with each one of those guys that you work out with. So I think that is probably the most important thing that I get out of F3. And the other one I would say is just the leadership piece of it. Having that opportunity to carry a flag for a year with Vespa, and then having those opportunities to be Site Q, to continue that leadership growth. Because some people are great at it and they show no fear. Like me personally, I've been probably queuing for 3.5 years now, on and off, right? And I still get a little nervous, little butterflies every now and again. So that continues to challenge me and grow as well. So those are the two things I would say that I get out of F3 the most.
Is there anything on your F3 bucket list that you haven't accomplished yet you still want to do?
I have to say the same thing as you. So I have ran a half marathon, but it's been 8 years since I've done that. So it would be nice to do that again. Because like you said, I can run 10Ks and 8 miles. I do that periodically, but pushing myself to get in that half marathon again, I think would be good. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm rooting for you. Last question. What's been your experience with Q Source and how has it impacted your acceleration in F3?
I really enjoy the Q Source book. There's a lot of things that I've thought about throughout life, and they're in that book. And I love how it just continues to challenge you as an individual. It has you think about things different in your life as well, especially how you're prioritizing the things that are important in your life and what you need in your life. So I really enjoy that Q Source book. And going to the Q Sources is so important too, because you read it, right? And you think about it one way. So when you're in those Q Sources after a workout, guys maybe bringing up stuff that you like, wow, I didn't think about it that way. And so you think about what was in that book a completely different way and how that could positively impact your life as well.
Well, you heard it from Cradle. We're excited to kick off the month of October with him at the Crucible. Come out and join us. I really appreciate your time. Can't wait to see you, Cradle.
Thanks, Mel Carden. Have a great weekend.
All right, Ep3 Omaha, that's it for this week. Next up, we have Tooth Fairy on the queue at the Crucible. Can't wait for that interview. As for Q Source, we have the second leg of the royalty race called Queen, the daily discipline over what is put into the body. Can't wait for next week. See you then.